The human skull is one of the most vital, complex, and scientifically significant structures in the human body, serving as a multifunctional biological framework that plays an essential role in protection, cognition, sensory perception, communication, evolution, and survival. And from an anatomical perspective, the skull is composed of 22 bones intricately connected through fibrous joints known as sutures, which allow limited flexibility during early development and ensure both strength and adaptability throughout life, making the skull an outstanding example of biological engineering where durability and lightness are perfectly balanced. The primary and most critical function of the human skull is the protection of the brain, which is the central organ responsible for thought, memory, emotion, voluntary movement, sensory interpretation, language, and decision-making. And because the brain is extremely soft and vulnerable to mechanical injury, the skull acts as a rigid protective casing that shields it from external trauma, pressure, and environmental hazards. And scientific studies in biomechanics have demonstrated that the curved shape of the skull helps distribute impact forces across a wider area, thereby reducing the severity of localized damage during falls, accidents, or blows, which significantly lowers the risk of fatal brain injuries. Moreover, the skull works in conjunction with the meninges and cerebrospinal fluid to form a multilayered defense system that absorbs shocks and minimizes sudden movements of the brain within the cranial cavity, highlighting the skull's role not merely as a static shell but as part of a dynamic protective mechanism. From a neurological standpoint, the internal surface of the skull mirrors the contours of the brain, and this close relationship allows medical professionals to identify abnormal pressure, swelling, or pathological changes through imaging techniques such as CT scans and MRIs, demonstrating how skull structure contributes directly to modern diagnostic medicine. In addition to brain protection, the skull houses and safeguards the primary sensory organs, including the eyes, ears, nose, and organs involved in taste and speech, as the orbital cavities protect the eyes and support vision by preventing direct mechanical damage, while the temporal bones encase delicate auditory structures responsible for hearing and balance, and the nasal bones and surrounding structures support respiration and olfaction, enabling humans to detect environmental cues essential for survival. The skull also forms the structural foundation of the face, determining facial shape, symmetry, and identity, which has profound social and psychological implications, as facial recognition plays a key role in human interaction, communication, and emotional expression. From a physiological perspective, the skull contributes to essential functions such as chewing, speaking, and breathing, as the mandible works in coordination with the maxilla and associated muscles to enable mastication, which is vital for nutrition and digestion, while the arrangement of facial bones supports the oral cavity and vocal tract, making complex speech and language possible, a feature that is uniquely advanced in humans compared to other species. Evolutionary biology provides compelling evidence that changes in skull shape and size are directly linked to the development of human intelligence and culture, as fossil records show that early hominins possessed smaller cranial capacities and larger jaws adapted for raw and tough diets, whereas modern humans evolved larger brain cases and smaller jaws as tool use, cooking, and social complexity increased, indicating that skull evolution reflects cognitive advancement and adaptive behavior. Anthropologists rely heavily on skull morphology to trace human evolution, migration patterns, and population diversity, as variations in skull shape, dental patterns, and cranial measurements reveal information about ancestry, diet, environmental adaptation, and genetic relationships among human populations, making the skull one of the most valuable resources in the study of human origins. In forensic science, the skull holds exceptional importance because it can survive long after soft tissues decompose, allowing experts to determine age, sex, ancestry, trauma, and sometimes even facial appearance through forensic facial reconstruction, which plays a crucial role in identifying unknown individuals and solving criminal cases. From a medical and developmental perspective, the skull is not a rigid structure at birth, as infant skull bones are separated by soft areas called fontanelles that allow the skull to deform during childbirth and expand as the brain grows, demonstrating a remarkable adaptation that ensures both safe delivery and proper neurological development. And disruptions in this process, such as the premature fusion of skull sutures known as craniosynostosis, can lead to serious neurological complications, underscoring the skull's role in healthy brain growth. The skull also serves as a reservoir for essential minerals such as calcium and phosphorus, contributing to overall metabolic balance and skeletal health, while advances in craniofacial surgery, neurosurgery, and biomedical engineering have further highlighted the skull's significance by enabling life-saving procedures such as craniotomies, reconstructive surgeries, and the implantation of medical devices, all of which rely on a detailed understanding of skull anatomy and biomechanics. From a cultural and symbolic perspective, the skull has been used throughout history as a representation of life, death, power, and knowledge, but beyond symbolism, its scientific value lies in its indispensable role in protecting consciousness itself, which defines human existence, thought, creativity, and moral reasoning, and when examined holistically, the human skull emerges not merely as a collection of bones but as an integrated system that supports survival, intelligence, communication, and identity, making it foundational to every aspect of human life. And as scientific research continues to advance in fields such as neuroscience, anthropology, genetics, and artificial intelligence-inspired brain studies, the skull remains central to understanding the physical basis of the human mind, reinforcing the conclusion that the human skull is one of the most crucial anatomical structures ever shaped by evolution, without which the development of human civilization, science, and culture would not have been possible.